Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at a slightly different video than I normally take a look at. Typically, I look at historical things, cultural things about India. I mean, some other countries and continents as well, but there's been a pretty big focus on India. And this video we are going to be looking at today is actually a PBS Eon video called When India Was an Island. PBS Eon typically talks about ancient animals and ancient fauna. I was gonna say geography, but that's not quite. What's I don't know what the correct term is. Anyways, from my very, very vague understanding of the whole thing, the whole shebang, roughly 150 million years ago, the Indian subcontinent broke apart from the other major continent that it was part of. It was attached to like Africa and Antarctica and a bit of Australia, and it broke off, and then all the continental drift, yada yada yada. Like 100 million years later, the subcontinent slammed into the Eurasian continent, and that's where the Himalayas come from. From that push of the Indian subcontinent pushing into the Eurasian continent, and that spikes up the Himalayan mountain range. So yeah, we're gonna watch that video. I'm going to assume that he talks about a lot of these things a bit more in depth. So without further ado, PBS Eon, When India Was an Island. Let's get it done.
Stay tuned for the end of the episode for a mammoth announcement.
Oh my.
We need to talk about the biggest breakup of all time.
It's a different narrator. I thought it was going to be the guy. Okay, that's fine.
The breakup of the supercontinent Pangaea. Around 200 million years ago, the ground split open, and the crack grew until it reached all the way across the supercontinent.
Yep, and this split off the North American continent and the Eurasian continent,
Eventually flooding with seawater. This seaway connected two ancient oceans together, separating Laurasia in the north from Gondwana in the south. And it also separated all the plants and animals that lived on each. This was a major fork in the road of evolution. Life became divided into two different groups, but they didn't lose touch forever. The subcontinent of India became a sort of island messenger between the two halves of the globe, breaking away from Gondwana and traveling 9,000 kilometers across the sea to collide with Laurasia. This journey took 35 million years.
Oh, 35 million years. I was under the impression it took a lot longer. Huh, interesting. I wonder if they're going to be talking about the Deccan Flats as well, the Deccan super volcanic eruptions that potentially could have caused the end of the dinosaurs and much of life over the period of millions of years. I've touched upon this in a different video. I don't remember which video it was, but yeah, I wonder if they'll mention anything like that in this video.
But the plants and animals that went along for the ride when India became an island eventually reunited with their long-lost northern relatives. Kind of. Because a lot can happen over that much time. And ultimately, when India smashed back into Asia, it really just traded one form of evolutionary isolation for another.
Okay.
When the breakup started, Gondwana was made up of what is now South America, Africa, India, Antarctica, and Australia. Africa, Madagascar, and India were once neighbors. That is until sometime around 120 to 100 million years ago, when a rift formed, breaking India and Madagascar away from Africa and isolating all the Gondwanan plants and animals living there. Then, around 90 million years ago, Madagascar split off and India was basically on its own. Now, we know that island isolation often leads to unique evolution. Think of the Galapagos, or Madagascar itself for that matter.
So the evolution of India. I'm trying to think, are there any substantially different animals and fauna? I mean, fauna, yeah. I mean, like basically all the world's spices come from India, but like animals, is there any strange animals in India that I can think of? Because the ones I'm thinking of now probably just went ahead and migrated via like the Middle East, but maybe they're there from the beginning. I don't know. I'm thinking like elephants and tigers and lions and stuff, but I don't know. I guess we'll find out in the video.
This is allopatric speciation, where a physical barrier creates a separation that leads to new species. And during the Cretaceous period, the island of India was home to a bunch of animals that were suddenly cut off from the rest of the world.
Yep.
Everything from frogs, lizards, turtles, snakes, centipedes, and crocodiles, to plant-eating sauropods like the gigantic Jainosaurus and meat-eating theropods.
The Jainosaurus is the Jainosaurus named after the Jain religion?
Like the two-legged Indosuchus and Rajasaurus.
Rajasaurus from the Rajasthan. Okay.
There were even early
Or well, I mean, Raja means king, right?
mammals like Gondwanatheres, an extinct group that looked kind of like big rodents. But Cretaceous life on India wasn't all an island paradise, as the subcontinent was just beginning a wild tectonic ride. When it first broke away, it was traveling at around 5 centimeters per year. That's already pretty fast. Today, the average plate moves at around 1.5 centimeters.
I think I'm just guessing before. I'm not guessing. I want to try to speak before they say it in the video, but it was moving at like 20 to 30 centimeters or something like that a year, and it's still moving relatively quickly as well, right? Like, I guess we'll find out.
Per year. And India
I
was
keep
so
interrupting
fast
it.
because it's very thin, only 100 kilometers thick compared to other plates like Africa at 300 kilometers. The
Okay.
gigantic plume of hot material that had emerged from the mantle and caused the initial breakup of Gondwana had also melted rock off of India's base. And then 80 million years ago, the plate accelerated to a sprint, moving at a rate of over 14 centimeters per
Okay,
year.
14.
This is because
I misremembered some number then somewhere along the line.
it was being pulled by 2 parallel subduction zones, where one plate slides beneath another and sinks into the mantle. One of these was in the middle of the Tethys Sea, and the other was along the coastline of Laurasia. Because they both pulled in the same direction, like 2 people on the same side of a tug of war. This yanked India northward exceptionally fast. India then sped through different climates, putting pressure on the plants and animals to adapt to new conditions or perish. Around 67 million years ago, the plate began to slide over the Reunion hotspot, fueled from below by a massive plume of magma. And the force of this plume beneath the Indian plate sped up its pace even more. It also triggered a massive volcanic eruption known as the Deccan Traps. This was the flood basalt.
The Deccan Traps, that's what it was. I knew it was Deccan something because the Deccan, the Deccan Plateau. Okay.
Erupting lava literally flooded the Earth's surface. It poured out enough lava to cover an estimated 1.5 million square kilometers, an area the size of Mongolia. This amount of lava could fill the Great Lakes nearly 50 times over. Today,
Wow.
the remaining basalt still covers 15% of modern India. And this volcano came at the worst possible time, because one of the main eruptions lasted 700,000 years and began just 300,000 to 400,000 years before the Earth was hit by the asteroid that led to the Cretaceous Paleogene extinction 66 million years ago. And while the Deccan
So there's a new hypothesis out there that the Deccan Traps is actually the cause of the death of all the dinosaurs, not necessarily the asteroid that hit the Earth, hit the Gulf of Mexico, but it was actually the Deccan Traps releasing the noxious, poisonous carbon monoxide. I don't know which one I'm talking about, but I'll have to pull that up and we can read about it a little bit later.
Traps didn't cause this extinction, many scientists think they years ago. And while the Deccan Traps didn't cause this extinction, many scientists think they played a big role in worsening it.
Or she can just, say what I was trying to say.
The eruption spewed out toxic gases like mercury. It also released aerosols that spread out in the atmosphere, reflecting sunlight and suddenly cooling the planet. But when these cleared, the carbon dioxide released by the same eruption also warmed the planet over the longer term. The temperature had come back down by the
Okay. See, I had read, because I read in my spare time, I read like the science papers. I watch a bunch of science videos, right? So I try to keep up with this sort of thing, and that's cool. That, I mean, this is a newer video, so it will have a lot more of this information that I'm aware of, opposed to like me watching a video from a couple years ago where I could elaborate more on my thoughts. So I guess I don't look quite as smart as I could have, but that's cool that they're touching upon it. And yeah, the Deccan traps, I do think. Based off what I've seen, is the actual true cause of the death of the dinosaurs. There's so many Deccan trap eruptions that occurred over the lifetime of its activation that I think it is the cause of many major mass extinctions. Anyways, back to the video.
time the asteroid hit, but this roller coaster of climate meant that life was already under incredible stress. And in addition to feeling these global effects, life on the island of India also had to contend with lava flows and nearby volcanic gases. Living basically right on top of the Deccan traps meant that the effects of the mass extinction were amplified. Nearly all vertebrates were wiped off the subcontinent.
Okay.
The few survivors included frogs, snakes, and caecilians, the worm-shaped amphibians. All of these can burrow into the ground for protection, so that might have been the key to surviving both a massive volcano and an asteroid impact. After the dust settled, there's about a 10 million year gap in our understanding. Paleontologists just haven't found many fossils from this time in India. So we pick up the story again during the Eocene, around 50.
Wasn't there a recent fossil that was found that was like it was like the largest snake, right? The largest snake fossil ever found was found in Gujarat. I want to say this is true. We'll see if they talk about it. If not, I can look it up.
55 million years ago. And the fossils from this time make it clear that the island of India played an important role in the evolution of placental mammals. But where did these mammals come from in the first place? One idea is that they could have originated in Gondwana and survived the Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction in India, known as the Out of India hypothesis. But most scientists disagree. See, India broke away before mammals with placentas evolved. And since the vast majority of modern mammals, including all modern Indian mammals, have placentas, the ancestors of these mammals would need to have somehow made it to the island of India. So researchers think that despite being in the middle of the Tethys Sea at the time, it's more likely that India wasn't completely isolated. As the subcontinent neared the Asian mainland, but before it had fully docked, some animals were able to migrate from the mainland to India. They likely did this by hitching a ride on floating objects, or jumping between smaller islands like stepping stones. And once these mammals made it, ancient India was home to some big evolutionary milestones. In fact, both horses and whales can trace their roots back there. For a long time,
Horses and whales trace their roots back to India? What? What? Really?
the evolutionary history of ungulates, mammals with hooves, wasn't well understood. See, fossils of both groups of ungulates, those with an even number of toes and those with an odd number, appear suddenly across multiple continents. So where they came from in the first place has been a big question for a long time. And a study from 2014 describing a 54.5 million year old fossil of Cambatherium in India provided an interesting clue. This was a genus of four-legged herbivores that was an ancestor to the order of Perissodactyla, the odd-toed ungulates. Today, this order includes horses and rhinoceroses.
Interesting.
So this entire order could have originated in India, as it was nearing a collision with Asia. But what about the even-toed ungulates, called artiodactyls? This group includes pigs, giraffes, and camels, as well as whales and dolphins known as cetaceans, who evolved from land-dwelling mammals. And Indohyus was one of these mammals. Indohyus looked kind of like a deer with a long nose and thin limbs with hooves, but it was around the size of a cat. Its fossils have been found almost exclusively in India and Pakistan, suggesting this is where cetaceans made their transition from land to sea during the Eocene. And each
Weird.
stage of this
Okay.
transition can be seen in Indian fossils. That is until 49 million years ago, when the protocetids, a group of extinct cetaceans, evolved. Then suddenly their fossils appear all over the world. Cetaceans had gained the ability to spread out from the island across the world's oceans. Their ability to swim gave them a head start in terms of spreading out from India. But the collision with Asia provided a burst of new land-based species in both directions. India fully established a connection to the mainland around 45 million years ago, which is when we see plants and animals begin migrating both out of and into the subcontinent. One of these groups was the dipterocarps, a family of trees that can grow to over 50 meters tall, and today dominate Southeast Asian rainforests. They originated in Gondwana during the mid-Cretaceous and were carried across the sea by India. And some animals, like the ungulates, originally came from Asia but continued their evolution on the island of India before dispersing out again. Others, like the blind snakes, centipedes, and caecilians, first originated on Gondwana, survived the mass extinction, and diversified in India before spreading out across Asia, after a very long ferry ride.
Oh, okay, so this is really interesting. So I didn't know about a lot of this. So many different species that had its origins in India. That's kind of fascinating. It's just like you learn something new every day. You gotta love it, man.
And the rate at which species migrated back and forth from India to Asia continued to increase until 15 million years ago. Because while India's isolation and journey across the sea was a
This is when the
unique
Himalayas
tectonic
came.
moment that led to the evolution of equally unique animals, it wouldn't be the last time geologic forces isolated India. Its collision with Asia built the tallest mountains in the world, the Himalayas. And just like oceans, mountains create barriers between groups of species, allowing them to evolve in isolation. But how the Himalayas changed the world is a story for another episode.
Interesting. This is a good video. I feel like I learned quite a bit. Oh, do we want to let them talk about their mammoth project? Yeah, we'll let them talk about
Here
their
on
mammoth
Eons,
project.
we have made a number of episodes about mammoths over the years, and now we want to bring back mammoths. We recently partnered with designer David Silva to create a scientifically accurate, articulated figure of a woolly mammoth. The campaign is going to kick off next month, but you can follow our backer kit at the link in the description.
I thought for a second he was talking about there's like a DNA sequencing like breeding program thing going on where they want to splice the DNA of the woolly mammoth with modern day elephants so they could breed back like a mammoth elephant hybrid.
India wasn't the only
But this
island
isn't what they're
continent
talking
that
about.
came from Gondwana. In classic Australian fashion, evolution built a family of deadly predators by taking a group of cute, harmless herbivores and turning them murderous. Check out our
Yes.
episode when the combat wombat became an apex
combat
predator to learn more.
wombat.
Magma Mia. We gotta thank this month's eontologist.
Magma
Addie,
Mia.
Amy, Eric Higgins, Carl Wolfel, Jake Hart, John Davidson Eam, Juan M., Melanie Lamb Carnevale, and Raphael Hassa.
Okay.
Become an Eonite at patreon.com/eon.
Eonite. Magma Mia. Eonite. Dude.
Subscribe at youtube.com/eons for more journeys in deep time.
Okay. The link to this video will be in the description down below, by the way. So if you want to check out this video, check out the channel. You can definitely go down
Fueled
there
from below
and
by
see
a
it.
massive plume of magma.
What? Those
Magma.
outtakes? Oh.
Oceans made of magma.
Austin Powers reference, guys. You know, that movie from 2000? 24 years ago? Yeah.
I keep wanting to say magma like Austin Powers. Magma. Every time I read the word, I have to do it every single time.
Okay. The Himalayas will return. All right. Like I said, the video link will be in the description down below. So if you want to check out the channel, please go and do that. And yeah, I'm actually genuinely surprised. I want to look up this snake, the largest snake fossil. Massive snake fossil found in Gujarat. Scientists claim it is the largest snake to ever exist. Groundbreaking new discovery in the realm of paleontology has sent ripples through the scientific community. Researchers have unearthed the fossilized remains of what is believed to be the largest snake to have ever slithered across the earth. The colossal serpent named Vasuki indicus, after the mythological snake king associated with Hindu deity Lord Shiva, was found in the lignite mines of Gujarat, India. The discovery made by a team from the Indian Institute of Technology, Roorkee, has been recently confirmed as the giant snake species that roamed the planet approximately 47 million years ago. The researchers included Professor Sunji Bajpa and Debati Datta from IIT Roorkee, excuse me, have estimated the length of the Vasuki indicus to be between 11 to 15 meters. Wow, 36 to 49 feet long. Can you imagine a 50? Could you imagine a 50-foot long snake? With some vertebra suggesting the snake could have weighed around 1 ton. Making it not only the longest, but also one of the heaviest snakes ever known, surpassing the size of the Colombian Titanoboa, which lived around 60 million years ago and was crowned the largest snake in the world when its remains were discovered in 2002. Crazy. Okay, so roughly around the same time period, 60 million years ago, 47 million years ago, Colombia, South America, complete other side of the planet, right? Titanoboa. Then we have the what was it? What was it? The Vasuki indicus. It doesn't the name doesn't quite ring, as well as Titanoboa, but maybe it's just because I it's the first time I've heard of it. So, uh, that's crazy, dude. Absolutely crazy. Again, if you want to see the channel, the link will be in the description down below. PBS Eons, nearly 3 million subscribers, so pretty cool, pretty cool. They have a lot of channels. Like I said, PBS is I don't want to say it's a content farm, because PBS is like some standardized thing, right? It's not the same vein as a content farm as some of these other channels. So yeah. Anyways, it's okay. It's cool. We're gonna read some comments. Animals on India for millions of years. Are we there yet? Teasing the Himalayas like that. Great cliffhanger. Before the discovery of tectonic plates, scientists thought there were a sunken landmass between India and Madagascar called Lemuria, because there were lemurs in Madagascar, but not Africa, and there were also lemurs in India. You are right, the Western Ghats of India are remnants of the central highlands of Madagascar. Many flora and fauna in here have closer relationships with their Malagasy counterparts. Combining with the Deccan Plateau and Eastern Ghats, it helps preserve the unique landscape of the peninsular India. India is distinct not just culturally, but even geologically. Also, most favorite tectonic plate is the Indo-Australian plate. Who has a favorite tectonic plate? It's a weird thing to have a favorite of. Yeah, my favorite plate is the Indo-Australian plate of 170 million years ago. I wish India is still an island instead of having chaotic neighbors. A former Prime Minister of India once said, "You can choose your friends but not neighbors." As an East Indian who was once neighboring Antarctica now has Bay of Bengal in my neighborhood. Yeah. I'm a Japanese person who wants to do research on mammals. I didn't know much about Indian mammals, but thanks for the video. I gained new knowledge. Thank you. I gained new knowledge as well. The descendants of horses and whales originated from India. Should have mentioned how India's isolation played a big role in creating one of the longest snakes. Hey, look at that! I talked about that myself. Sri Lanka and India, best travel buddies ever. Yeah, well, they were connected at many points. So, Thanks for not adding Indian classical music as background score. Honestly, appreciate it for not falling to stereotype magma. Yeah, I didn't even notice. Yeah. What excellent timing for this one, especially with the ancient Indian mega snake Vasuki indicus, recently described as seemed to have ruled insular India during the Eocene. I'm an ethnic Kumaoni. Our kind lives in the hills of the Himalayas. The biodiversity of our place is outstanding. The rivers of the Ganga originate from our place. The river ecosystem provides a beauty unparalleled from any other place on Earth. Warblers, bearded vultures, certain kinds of changeable hawk, eagle, are just a few kind of birds who call this place a habitat. This video was really enjoyable for me. Thanks for the post, dear. This is a great show. I like to binge episodes while I crochet. Thanks, PBS and hosts. Insular India is so underrated in terms of its unique biota. Biota. This is another word that I've never heard before. And then role it played in the evolution survival of many species. Some of those include Avastia, possibly the last surviving non-mammal synapsid on Earth, living in the end of the Cretaceous. Delopodus, a fossil trackman of a possible Cretaceous stegosaur, still disputed. Lagomorphs, rabbits, and pikas. No way, lagomorphs came from India as well, which may have came from Asia and got their evolutionary start in India. No way. Are you what? Lagomorphs are from India too? That would be crazy, dude. Vasuki. This is the Titan boa one. Interesting. Hold on, I see a big error here. The graphical timeline 646 says the placement plus the placenta mammal evolved 62 million years ago after the KPG mass extinction. When this is not the case, placenta mammals definitely originated sometime in the late Cretaceous. This is supported by molecular clock study and fossil records. Thank you for pointing this out. Must be a mistake from their side, or the placental mammals are fibbing. I thought placental mammals were a thing from the very beginning as well, or like they were still a thing when dinosaurs were around. So interesting. You just summoned the whole Indian island now. Oh, wow! I've never been so early. There isn't enough info about this topic. Thanks for covering the fastest island. It is technically the fastest island, isn't it? Technically. India was also surrounded by 33 36 degrees Celsius oceans during a lot of the time. Nice and warm. Yeah. I remember reading my geography book 20 years back in school about this, and from then on, I've always called India the subcontinent. What's always known as the Indian subcontinent, isn't it? Fun fact, the word was also commonly used during the Mughal Empire and is still used in the Pakistani textbooks. I thought it was always referred to as the Indian subcontinent. Huh. Prepare for ramming speed. Okay. All right. Cool. All right. I think I'm done reading comments. It's too early of the video to release for there to be any like weird or controversial or crazy comments on the news section. Well, were Janosaurs vegan? I'm glad I went to the news section. I take it back. India is always a breakaway from traditional norms. It is in their DNA. Without the word India, YouTube can't run. Maybe. Fun fact, the Western Ghats of India have a big gap known as the Palakkad Gap, stretching around 40 kilometers. The other parts of that puzzle can be seen in Madagascar. Even the living beings in the Madagascar and Western Ghats do share some similarity. That's pretty cool. Again, this is a fun little video. It just came across my timeline. You know what? I don't make enough reaction videos on this channel. I really need to get to doing it. And I just, sometimes I want to do fun little videos like this. I know I've been doing a lot of like geopolitical videos, like some history videos. And yeah, I promise, I'll get to more videos in the times to come. The summer has been very, very hectic and crazy for me. So I will get to more videos. I promise that. All right, guys. With that being said, thank you for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment. And I'll catch you on the next time, yeah? Take care. Goodbye.